Hello, hello, hello. How is it
Evening,
going,
new
lads?
boys.
Go,
I,
mate.
I was getting, I was getting worried there for a second. I thought when we kicked off that intro and it said 0 people watching, I said, "What, has everybody given up on Newcastle already? One draw and it's all panic everywhere." But how are you, lads? How are you, Pete? First,
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Busy day. I think we were just talking about a day away from any of the socials. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So, yeah, away, different things going on with the family, and yeah, come back with the boys to talk all things Newcastle. So yeah, not a bad day at all. What about you,
nice.
boys?
You, Chris?
Good, mate. Yeah. Similar to Pete, and apologies because I may have a little rant later, but no, I similar to Pete, I watched the match last night. Went on social media, promptly went off social media, and not been on since. And yeah, it was just a nice chilled weekend. Got the boys and girls at home, so all good. And yeah, just chilling. Been looking forward to coming on and speaking to you boys, obviously. But well, yeah, other than that, mate, nothing to report.
Not so bad. Not so bad. Cheers, boys. Right. So for myself, yeah, my wife was working all weekend, so she's just back in again this evening. So yeah, it was just myself and the little boy all weekend, really more well, on off all weekend, and yeah, watching the games. Watching the game today was interesting. This one maybe not so much, but let's talk about it anyway. Rightio. Let's go to it. Let's go to the team news, and the big news was Bruno is back. Bruno is back. He's in the squad, and then he starts. He starts and missing no matches, and that has to be good news. That is good news for us going into our game, the League Cup semi-final on this Tuesday. So yeah, that is great. Any shocks and any other thoughts on the team news, lads? That's the big one. But anything else, Pete?
Just absolutely buzzing hearing the news. I think it broke on Friday. Mentioned it to you boys. I think it was Craig Hope came out and said he's got a chance of being in the squad. I think we're all buzzing at that. And then not only does he make the squad, he starts, and it's like, hold on a second, Eddie Howe's Gavin is on here because the way he was talking was that it was going to be a period of injury in the Friday presser, and then he starts. So great news all round. Absolutely buzzing when we heard that.
Your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, similar. Really happy with the lineup. I had a feeling that Isak and St. Maximin probably wouldn't be missed from the start. But like Pete, yeah, absolutely buzzing that the Bruno was fit. A little bit bemused, but hey, it wasn't bad news. It was great news. So yeah, I know I was really happy with the lineup prior to kick off.
Cool. Right, let's get into it and do a quick run through the game because there's not many highlights. But right, really quick. 5 minutes with a cross, Miggy shot, side netting. 30 minutes, Bruno half volley, keeper save. 19 minutes, J7, Tim shot at the keeper. Palace were sticking tight and reducing the space for us. 29 minutes, free kick, trips after Wilson foul. Bit of a mess, really. Nothing really happened with that. Handball, VAR check, but nothing was coming of it on the 35 minutes. Newcastle had about 70%, 70 plus plus of the possession at that stage of the game as well. Then moving forward to the 45 minutes mark, big chance for Palace. Zaha through trips stops them. Very lucky, I think, then at that stage. That was a great interception by Trips there to make sure Zaha wasn't bearing down a goal, who later went off in the game as well through injury. He'll be missing for a while, probably for Palace. Then 45 minutes, the resulting corner, that was just went over the bar from Richards, the young American centre back who was talked about in the away days, actually. Richards, yes, that's him. So yeah, that was a decent chance for Palace as well. So that took us to that was the fastest run through ever there of my first half. So half time 0-0. Palace up to the pace in the second half a bit. 52 minutes, a shot from the corner. Wilson kind of tame headers straight at the keeper. There's a bit of a theme here in the headers front. Tame headers the keeper. Newcastle were getting closer at that stage. Botman had a header as well in 62 minutes. Then Palace made 3 subs. Newcastle made 2 subs. ASM come on for Willock. Isaac come on for Wilson. 72 minutes. Pope, what a save! The move of the match, really. That was the massive highlight of the game. And if you did happen to be on social media, that got played loads and loads of times everywhere, and rightly so. It was absolutely brilliant. Macheta, a nice shot, snapshot, and Pope with a reaction save at point blank, absolutely unreal save. 79 minutes, cross from Trippier. Isaac header, again a bit of a tame header at the keeper. All in all, not clinical in front of goal. Full time 0-0, but it's a point away from home. London used to be a place we used to be able to get a point at one stage, if you remember. It's away from home, and that is the run through of the game. Pete, I'll go to you first. Your thoughts on and reflection of the game.
I've got to be honest. Like when the final whistle went, I was kind of just annoyed and frustrated because we did enough to win the game. And I'll be honest, we did enough to win the game comfortably. And it was frustrating because we had a lot of the ball, we created a lot of chances, and we just couldn't put the ball in the net. And it's ultimately what Eddie Howe said. And that frustrated me because I saw this with all the other results that have gone on and continue to go on this weekend. You know, it can be quite easy seeing these 2 points dropped, but I always have to kind of remember and look at the situation in that we haven't conceded. It's another clean sheet. Never looked like really conceded apart from the Pope chance, which we gave them. We gave them that chance. They didn't earn it. And yeah, I just think with a couple of weeks left in the window, I think it gives us an opportunity to see where we need to improve. And I look at it and I think, well, we've gone third. We're still third now. We haven't lost ground on anybody around us. And I just think, actually, you know what? In the grand schemes of things, looking back, it might be a really well-earned point on the grand scheme of things. So that's kind of where my head is at right now.
No, that's fair enough. And of course, tomorrow you have Spurs and Fulham could do us a favour there as well. And it will look like a point game. That will be a point if Fulham were to get a good result, we would have got a point more than Man United over this weekend, and potentially a point more than Spurs. So look, it's the weekend fixture wise, it's not over yet. Chris, your thoughts on the game?
So on the game, similar to Pete, just frustrated, disappointed. You know, we should have won the game, and we deserve to win the game. I would say. You know, you mentioned earlier, Daz, about the couple of team headers. Wilson had one, Isaac had one. Joe Linton didn't get any power into his shot. There was a few really good opportunities, for us to kick on and take the 3 points. But I think for me, the biggest disappointments this weekend wasn't the score, wasn't the performance. It was the carry on from some fans on social media. Like I mentioned it earlier, I had to remove myself from social media last night because it was funny. I was in the kitchen and my wife went, "What's up with you?" And I said, "My mind just baffled by the way some people carry on." Like I was reading stuff yesterday and people were saying it was a disgrace. They were saying that the team's not good enough, and they listed about 6 players. They said Howe needs to make new signings, not good enough. Words to that effect, and it just left me feeling like quite sad, if I'm honest, because I look now at where we are. I look back 15 months ago. And I think, we've been taken over in the last 15 months. We've got on this fantastic trajectory. Like, we're doing incredibly well. Things are really good. And we're going to Palace, right, in London. Like you said at the very start of the show, Daz, we're going to London, right? Crystal Palace, a good Premier League side. And, we had 7 shots on target. They had 1. We had 7 shots off target. They had 1. We had 61% possession. We had 15 corners. They had 3. We've dominated that game. We've dominated the game, and we've had plenty of opportunities to win it. We didn't win it, which is a shame. And yeah, it is disappointing. But it just honestly, it really disappoints me the way some people carry on, because I think, what more do you want? If you look at our starting 11, there's loads of players in there. Yes, we need to improve on them, and yes, in 2 or 3 years' time, I have no doubt that we will. But it's like, enjoy the moment, enjoy what we're doing. We're 20 games into a Premier League season, and we've lost one game. We've just broken our record for most games undefeated, 15 matches.
Yeah,
We've just
15.
broke our record, and we've kept another clean sheet, and people are still moaning. And like, I'm also before, when I was looking at the Crystal Palace lineup, they've got players like Tyreek Mitchell, who we're a fan of, Gahey, Ayew, Eze, Zaha, Edwards. These aren't like, average players. These aren't players who we'd say, oh, we wouldn't want them. These are good, solid Premier League players, and we've gone to Crystal Palace, dominated them, and then we're getting the likes of Patrick Vieira after the game saying, "Oh, yeah, it's amazing what money can do." And it's like, but he knows that's not the case, and we all know that's not the case. But honestly, I just urge some fans, and it's not all fans, loads of people are probably in the same mind space as myself and others, in that, we should appreciate where we are and what we're doing, and that we are in the middle of a journey. But I just find it so annoying, and I just think, God forbid, like we were saying before we came on, weren't we, lads? Like, if we lose, I might just like not go on social media for a whole weekend, because I can imagine the meltdown. Like, when we play, I don't know, say we play Liverpool at home and we lose, and then like everyone's going, "Oh, it's rubbish. Get rid of Sean Longstaff. Get rid of Willock. Get rid of Wilson. He's past it. And it's like, these players have been playing fantastically well this season. We're overachieving. We've got no God-given right. We laugh, don't we, and say that there's fans out there who have this God-given right of being in the top 4. We laugh at it and we go, oh, the way they carry on, because they're used to winning things, and they're used to performing well, and they're used to not getting beat. And then I started to see that from us last night, and I just thought, I don't like it. I really don't like it. Like, we are playing ridiculously well at the moment, and we are playing fantastically well, but we've got no God-given right to win football matches. And if we're putting up performances like that and coming away from Crystal Palace having dominated, I mean, did you see at the full-time whistle, or a couple of minutes before the full-time whistle, Palace were celebrating like they won the league.
Yeah.
Happy,
singing and dancing. Yeah.
And yet we're coming away from the game. Some people, having maybe not the people who were there watching it, I don't know, but the people online saying, "Oh, it's rubbish, not good enough, and Palace are crap, and we should be doing this, we should be doing that." And it's like, really though? Like, is that what we are now? Are we being those fans who expect to win things? And like, look at Man City when they got a draw against Everton. So were they saying, "Oh, we get rid of Haaland, he hasn't scored in 4 games, he's crap"? It's like, what Sean Longstaff last week put in a fantastic performance, and he was getting all the plaudits, and rightly so. This week he's shite again. And it's like, so what should we do then? Should we just go out and buy, 11 £200 million players? Is that what we should do? And then obviously when they're not asked, or they're not putting the effort in, is that where we are? I don't know. But yeah, sorry to be so negative.
Not yet, Chris. We're not there yet.
It just really winds me up, and I think, what do people want? This is the best period of supporting the club ever, and there's still people having a go, and he's not good enough, and we need to do this, or we still haven't signed anyone, and it's like, am I wrong feeling like that? Am I wrong to be a bit annoyed, or
no? I think it's part of this transition into the team we're looking to be in. The problem is that there'll be always a section of the fan base that are already 2 or 3, 4, 5 years ahead of where we actually are right now. So because we've been doing really, really well, and we're 3rd in the league, and it's on merit, we're there because we've played good football, because we've got good results, because we've put good performances in. Is that we're there, so people just expect, oh, this is where we are now, we're going to stay there, and they blanket out anything else. Now, I'll rewind it back a year, because I was at Selhurst Park for the 1-1 draw, and other than the fantastic goal that Callum Wilson scored, the overhead kick that got us a point, we did nothing. We didn't put an absolute, we didn't put a finger on them in that game. They had all the ball, they had all the chances. They probably could have scored 2 or 3 before we got the equaliser. It was like men against boys. What we've done in a year is flip that on its head, and we dominated them. Our defenders had hardly anything to do, and when they had their one chance that was gifted to them because we overplayed the ball at the back, Nick Pope was there to make the world class save, and that's what he does. But other than that, they didn't put a thumb on us, a finger on us. They didn't do nothing. They didn't create nothing. And going back to what you said, they've got some good players in there. They've got some good players in that team. They're a good squad of players. And if you look at their results, they are difficult to play against at home. Yeah. Man United went there and conceded a hell of a lot more chances than us, conceded a very, very good goal in a free kick, and looked nowhere near as comfortable as a team than we did on Saturday. But we both come away with a point, and that's the thing. We need to remember sometimes where we've come from. I mean, yes, on what some of the comments that people have said, we do have players that need to leave the club. We know that, but it can't be done overnight. We have only had 2.5 windows to make changes, and we all know that we're not going to go out and do a Man City and a Chelsea and just spend a hell of a load of money and do drastic changes. Why? Because it doesn't work. Making big drastic changes, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 players, never ever works. It never works. Not in the short term, not in the long term. You have to do it gradually over time. You have to keep the squad harmony and the squad togetherness together, and you chip away players in time, bring new players in bit by bit. This is what we're doing. There is no doubt in my mind that within the next week or so, or the next 2 weeks until the window's out, that we will sign at least a couple of players to add to this team. There's no doubt about it. I would be absolutely shocked and flabbergasted if we end the window without signing anybody. But we just have to be patient. And the problem is that there's so many Newcastle fans in a small section of our fan base, not a massive section, but we all seem to get those small section that are the loudest, that talk the most, and that they want everything right now. And when we don't win, it's the worst thing in the world, and everybody's crap and everybody's out, and there's fingers pointed to Eddie Howe because he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And these I'll be honest, the players and the manager, they're not away from criticism. We can criticize them, of course. Yeah. We can say they haven't done things right, but blaming them and going mad at them for no reason, it's a good point. It's a good point.
And a great performance. Bar the goals, Pete, it was a good performance. Well, I say goals. It was a great performance. If Wilson would have scored his header, if Isaac would have scored his header, and this is what I was thinking, we'd have won 2-0. Everyone would have said how brilliant we were. But we didn't win. We didn't win 2-0. We ended up drawing 0-0.
Just want to get in and sorry, Pete, you go first. Finish first.
What I was going to say is go back a week to Fulham. Same situation. Only difference is Isaac gets the winning goal and we're all loving it and we're all buzzing and we're all happy. The difference is this week is we didn't get the goal that wins the game, that showed our dominance and shows the stats that you've just read out, Chris, and everyone's up in arms again. That's the only difference. And yes, it can be frustrating, but equally, we need time to turn this around gradually. You look at Arsenal for just one example. Top of the league, playing elite football. But they're in their third year of this transition. We've only just gone into a year of this transition. We need time to build and to regrow from where we've been. And trust me, we're in a far worse position than Arsenal were when we needed this, when we started this rebuild. And we need to sometimes just remember where we've come from to see and to look and reflect about where we're going. And that's that. We clearly can do that as a three. We're on the same page in terms of how we think. So many in the comments are saying exactly the same, but it's always this small section that are the loudest, that have the biggest word, and it's so frustrating because it almost on social media comes across as that's the reflection of Newcastle fans off the back of some of the stuff that you've heard and you've been frustrated about, Chris. I've had messages from others, from the 12th man, from others saying, is this what Newcastle fans really think? And I'm having to go, no, it's a small section. But that small section is so loud that ultimately all the other fan bases from other clubs think that that's how we are as fans.
Go and look at them. Yeah. Why are they talking like that and thinking that they're a particular way? And you look online and you just think, And then you want to get into an argument over it, and then you think it's just not worth it. It's just really not worth it, and you just think like, what do you gain from doing that? Because, or do they genuinely, which is more worrying, is that genuinely what they think? And you feel like saying, give your head a wobble. Like, look where we were under Bruce. Look at the performances going to Palace under McLaren, Bruce. The list could go on, and we get dominated, and we might win a game, and we might sneak a win. Everyone's buzzing. Yet we dominate, we get a draw, another clean sheet. As I said, all the positives earlier, and people are going, he needs to get rid. He's rubbish. We can't play. He can't play anymore. He's crap. But if that player plays next week and we win, he'd be the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And it's just like, I know football fans are fickle, but anyway, sorry, Daz.
Yeah, no, because I wanted to hear everything you got to say, because I wanted to come back on a few different things. First, I'll go to what Chris was saying, and then I'll jump to what Pete was saying. Yeah, Chris, and linked into both you're saying here, it's the age-old thing of think before you tweet, and just step away from it, because you might regret what you put out there, and a couple hours later, or definitely the next morning. Because if you look back and go, we're still turning the table. What was I thinking? We're like, it's not as bad, not as all doom and gloom as I might think it'd be. Yes, 15 games unbeaten. Like that's a record for Eddie Howe. Like so. Anyway, that's the one thing. What you were saying, patience. Yes, definitely, we need patience. This is a project. We can't change it overnight. We would love to get rid of a load of players as well that have done their service for us, but they're not as useful to us now, but it's going to take time. We can't change it all at once, and they are serving a purpose for Eddie Howe as well. Morale and being the extra demand on the pitch as well, getting his voice out there. And also on the signings, I agree, Pete. We all thought we were going to bring in signings before we sold Chris Wood. Now we sold Chris Wood as well. We expect more. I would be very surprised if it's not 2 signings before the end of the window. And I would even think that something could even happen very soon, like is in tomorrow before the game on Tuesday, because not as a reaction to a draw against Crystal Palace. It's because we need it anyway, and they have been looking at things. So hold tight, something will happen soon. Another thing, like maybe as well as like everyone's watching Newcastle as an eye in Newcastle. They're watching their style of play. They're trying to come up with ways to try and counteract that, and that's what maybe where Fulham and Palace tried to do there yesterday and the day before. And finally, one thing, and on the silence as well, it was those people shouting in our chat. I remember before, we're not making any silence, and then we signed Isak. Remember that, out of the blue. So just be patient; it's not over yet. And first of all, before I go to my next point, hey Summer as well. How are you, Summer? I want to say a shout out to everyone watching. There's 251 in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button, and if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well. So get it done, or at least I'll be on to you. Then I wanted to ask Pete. I'll go to you first. I'll say what at the start of the season, before we look at the league table, I said if we finish 8th or higher, I'd be happy. We're sitting in 3rd position. Where at the start of the season now, not midway through the season, where did you think we would be finishing?
Honestly, Daz, I'll go back to it, and we can look back through the shows. Anyone wants to watch back through the shows and look at what our predictions were. I said anywhere between 10th and 8th. I genuinely would have been buzzing anywhere between 10th and 8th by the end of the season. That's what I said in the summer, building towards this season. So, this is the thing, is that you're frustrated because you don't win. You're like, no, we should have won that game. We had the chances. And then you look at it and you think, flipping hell, I thought we'd be like mid-table, but I thought we'd be where Chelsea and Liverpool are now, and would have gladly took it. And we're taking a point at Selhurst Park to go 3rd, and I'm thinking, flipping hell, I'll take that. You're gonna get rival fans and opposition fans come to, you didn't win, you didn't beat Palace, should have beat them, blah blah blah. And so yeah, we probably should have beat them, but actually. Look at where we are. It's just that point there was just put us into third position, and we've stayed there for the weekend. So actually, is it a bad point? I don't think so.
No, and it could have been worse. It could have been a draw against Fulham and a draw against Palace, and would give us 2 points. But we got a win against Fulham and a draw against Palace. So, Chris, where had you put us down at the start of the season? Where had you us down as finishing?
Do you know what? The start of the season feels like ages ago. I think it's because of the journey we've been on, Daz. But I'm pretty sure I was saying, top 8 would be good. Obviously, if you could sneak Europe, I think the Europa Conference is 7th, isn't it? But I think I was saying, 8th, top 8 would be great. We finished 11th last season, so any improvement on that, would have been fantastic. But I don't think anybody would have expected the the league performance we've had this season so far. Still a long way to go, but the signs are looking good. So yeah, we're well overachieving. But top 8, I'd have to revise it now though. I think if we finished 8th, it would be disappointing.
Yeah. But at the start of the season, that's where you were. That's where
start of the season, mate. I think I was about 8th. Yeah. Now I wouldn't take less than 6th. I don't think
we have to take Europe. We have to get a European spot. I think we're all in agreement here. The 3 of us, even some of the 4 of us, and everyone else in the chat, is that now we're in this position. We're played 20 games, so we're over halfway in. We should be at least getting European football with the football that we've played, and this is the key for us now moving forward. Is that we need to continue to keep picking up points. We've got I think you're going to go to the table in a second, Daz, but we've got West Ham next in the Premier League, then Bournemouth, then I think we've got Brighton and Liverpool at home. They're 4 games for me that I think we can win all 4 of them. I think the first 2, West Ham and Bournemouth, we should be expecting to win those games for the way that we're playing, and I just think that. If we, you bring the table up in a second. So, in fact, I'll wait for you to bring the table up, and I'll
bring it up now.
Well, I mean, you look at the league there, and what I'm saying is, obviously, we're 3rd in the league. We're playing well, and I just think the next 8 games are crucial. If we can get to 28 games and still be comfortably in the top 4, we go into those last 10. In a real good solid position. I think if we can get to 28 games, so I've said we've got West Ham, we've got Bournemouth, we've got Brighton, we've got Liverpool, Man City. Is that right?
It's West Ham, Bournemouth, Liverpool, Brighton, Man City, Wolves, Forest, Man United. That takes the 1st of April. I don't mind that. It's pretty around 8.
Yeah. So for me, I think if we can get through those 8 games, whether we lose one, the Man City one, I don't know, just throwing that out there. But if we can get in those 8 games that you've just read out, if we can potentially win 6 of those 8, I think we're in the driving seat for both top 4 and easily European football. Because I don't believe in those next 8 games that there'll be a lot of those teams that you can see on that screen below Newcastle United that will win 6 of their next 8.
Yeah, and the other thing is, Pete, while I would absolutely love to finish ahead of Man United and finish in 3rd position, look at finishing in 4th, it would like winning a trophy for us. We still might win a trophy as well, by the way. But it would just and look, we're 6 points ahead of Spurs as it stands, and they're not playing great either. We'll see how they get on against Fulham. But we're I suppose the theme of this part of the show is that we're not in a bad place. We drew a match. It's not the end of the world, even though it did feel demoralizing after the result. After a game, we had enough chances to win. Look, it happens. It happens better teams than us as well, and bigger squads than us. So get over it. Get on to the next one. Get ready for the semi-final. It was interesting actually. Now that we have the table up and are looking at our next Premier League game, it was interesting to see West Ham win as well. A big win for West Ham against Everton. Not so good for Everton. Not looking good for Frank Lampard there. But West Ham out of the bottom 3. I think that'll be a difficult enough game against West Ham. to tell you the truth.
Yeah, we've got West Ham next up. Weirdly, because you've just mentioned Everton. Everton have got a very easy fixture against Arsenal next game.
That's right.
So yeah, that's not looking great. No, I agree. Daz, home advantage, as we've known this season, St James's home advantage is huge, and it's an evening kickoff, so it's 5:30. So I absolutely, I think we'll beat West Ham, if I'm honest. Following West Ham, like you say, we've got Bournemouth away. Again, another evening kickoff, but it's obviously at the Vitality. So that'll be slightly more difficult. And then we've got Liverpool at home again, another evening kickoff, 5:30. Yeah, again, feeling very confident for the Liverpool match. I think we can pick up maximum points there. Early kickoff at home to Brighton.
Actually, Chris, I'll stop you there. That game won't be going ahead on that date because we'll have the cup final the next day. Hopefully,
Alan's just put that in the chat, and he was kind of like, does that mean that you don't think we'll get to the cup final? And no, because we will get to the cup final. I'm confident on that. But the thing that the Premier League do that could be a tricky one, makes that Brighton game tricky, is they either move it to the midweek before the final or they move it to the midweek after. So that's where we've got to be mindful, because then we might have a run of games in real quick succession. We could have Brighton cup final and then whoever we play afterwards. I think it might be Man City, or we could have cup final, Brighton midweek, then Man City, and that's a tough week. That's a very, very tough week of football for Newcastle United. So they'll move it either side. So it's kind of like, it makes it difficult, but because we don't have European football and we forget that, Arsenal have got to go into the Europa League Thursday, Sunday. That when they get back into that could change them completely. Man City are going to start prioritising Champions League. Man U are going to start prioritising Europa League. So with that, those teams are going to start having to manoeuvre their squads more. And could that affect them, where we just keep ticking along nicely and doing what we need to do with only the cup final as a distraction? So we might only have that short period as a distraction, but the rest of it can be just focused on that game week to week to week. That's the thing that I'm hoping that gets us over the line with this top four.
And do you know what as well, Pete? Just looking at the fixtures. Obviously, we've got Man City away the first week in March. After that game, well, in fact, from now till the end of the season, we've got two of the top six away. The rest are all at home. Any difficult top six sides we've got to face, they're all at home. So we've got Chelsea, we've got Man City at the beginning of March, and then we've got Chelsea away last game of the season. But all the other fixtures, we've got Arsenal, we've got Man United, we've got Liverpool. They've got to come to St James's. Yeah. So they've got to win those football matches. And if they don't, or, we pick up the draw, or, let's hope there's not another meltdown if we get a draw at home to one of those teams. But if we avoid defeat, it puts us in the driving seat. And I'm looking through the fixtures, and we've got the likes of Wolves. We've got to play Bournemouth. We've got to play Forest. All very, very winnable games. Everton.
Got West Ham to be rearranged as well. The game that was
rearranged. Yeah. Look, just from the league table, you can see there, the only teams who haven't played away are Man City and Brentford. We've played all of them away from home already. I think we talked about this on a couple of review shows back. Is that actually, we're in a great spot. We're in third in position and have played Arsenal away, Man U, Tottenham, Brighton, Fulham. We played them all away. Liverpool already. Below that, we can't see them on the screen. Chelsea, okay, we've got to go to Chelsea. But 3 of the top 10 that we've got left to go to with half the season left. And the rest of those have got to come to St. James's Park, or the majority of them have got to still come to St. James's Park. That ain't bad. That just shows the type of season that we've had. Yeah. That just shows. So any of those games that we've got to go away, like I think we just scrolled down to the other half of the table. Chris, I think, or Daz, you mentioned West Ham. Villa, we've got to go to. Brentford, okay, fair enough. That'll be a tough game. Leeds, for example. We've got some games that we go to, Forest. But look, we know those teams are all hit and miss. It'd be great one week and we shite the next. So if we stay consistent, we know we can at least take points going away from home. And we always know that if we ramp it up with the fans and we get the fans behind us, that we're always going to be difficult to beat at St. James's Park, and we've always got a chance of winning. And with that, they're the key things that will take us home.
Absolutely.
You look at that goal difference. That goal difference between us and Man United. The Man United took a little hit today by 1, so they're down to 7. You look at Tottenham on 8, Brighton on 10, Fulham 3, Brentford 4. What, Liverpool? Liverpool 0?
Minus
-9, is it?
9, yeah.
No, sorry, no. It looked partly like it was a 0, but minus. No, hold on. Oh, sorry, Liverpool on 9. But you look at our goal.
Chelsea on 1.
Yeah,
exactly. So you add another point on there because the goal difference is strong. It put us back into 3rd in the league. It's these things. 11 goals, guys. 11 goals conceded this season. The only one that's closest to us is Arsenal. They conceded 2 today. They're on 16. The next one after that is Man City. Man City have conceded 20, and then I think it goes beyond there. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I don't know if you guys saw on Sky, they put on all at this stage of the season, all of the teams that have conceded the least amount of goals at this point in the season. They're all title-winning sides, like your Vidic and your Ferdinands, your Terrys and your Carvalhos. It's those. It's like
your Botmans and your Shars.
Your Botmans and your Shars are now in there because they're up there with those teams, and it's like. I think your Van Dijks and Matip or whoever played alongside him is in that as well. And it's like our defence is up there with some of the best, not just this season, but in Premier League history. That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And just like you say yesterday, Pete, not for 1 minute yesterday, other than that fantastic Nepo save, not for 1 minute was I worried about Palace breaking that. The Palace on the counter attack are a good side, really, really good side. But I thought we managed it fantastically well. I thought we played pretty well yesterday. Yes, we didn't put the ball in the net, but as we saw against Fulham, it was a fantastic point you made there, Pete. We got the win, and everyone was saying, "Oh, it's brilliant, it's great, it's whatever." You could argue that we played stronger against Palace than what we did Fulham.
Yeah,
but we didn't get the win.
Daz, we'll ask you. Do you think we played better yesterday than we did against Fulham?
I thought we played the same, if not even maybe a small bit better, because the Fulham result could have been 0-0 as well. We just got lucky really at the end with these getting the goal. We did pepper them because we went. I keep calling it a 4-4-2, but we went with 2 attackers. But and we went all out. We didn't try that yesterday because Isaac come on for Wilson, but yeah, it was on a par really. It definitely wasn't any worse.
Well, just to kind of put a bit of substance behind what you've just said. We had 5 shots on target. And bear in mind as well, Fulham was at home, lads. Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
We had 5 shots on target. Fulham had none. 7 shots off target. Fulham had 3. We had 63% possession. We had 10 corners. Similar stats. But again, you look back at the game and you think, we're dominating. Under Steve Bruce, when did we ever get 63% possession? 63% possession? We're dominating teams we are, top team.
Under Steve Bruce, it was the other way around, mate. In terms of possession.
Smash and grab. Smash and grab.
On your end. Yeah. That's for sure. There was a point here by Steve Coulson. I just wanted to throw that in there. And when we were talking about all the positive stuff in our defence, not according to Kieran Dyer. I don't know if you watched it on Sky, but some of his comments after the game.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, he was talking about, some of our players. He was complimentary in some areas, but the point he made about Botman, he was saying about Botman, he didn't even know who he was before he came to Newcastle, but could be playing for a bigger club, a top 4 club, he said. And then he went, I know Newcastle in the top 4, no disrespect, but a club with bigger heritage and history. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Like he's meant to be our Newcastle representative on Sky. And to be fair, I bigged him up before because he has been on previous shows. He's been positive towards Newcastle, but he just made himself look a fool to Newcastle United, and he was our representative.
Yeah, he does kind of play to the audience, I guess, a bit, because I've seen him on let's say with the True Geordie and something like that, and he's been impressive. I really like what he had to say, but and he does give you an insight into his background into how it all unfolded for him as a Newcastle player. But yeah, he kind of just shoot himself in the foot a bit at times. Right, let's get away from the table, and I think we've bigged up everyone enough. Now it's time for the ratings and hand out the 2s and 3s. But I know. Let's go straight into it. And some pictures to accompany some of them. So straight up, let's go to Popey. I know there was some shouts in on Twitter to give Popey a 10 after that magnificent save. He didn't really have much to do apart from that save. But when he was called on, he had his mind was ready and the ability and agility to react. I'm giving Popey an 8.5. Pete.
On the grand scheme of things, he kind of late on won as a point. So I've got to say the same. I've got to say 8.5. Outstanding save.
Not that I disagree with you boys in any way, shape, or form, but when you first brought his name up, Daz, my initial feeling was 8, and that was purely because absolutely fantastic save, and full credit to him for being switched on throughout the entire game. But I struggle to go over 8 because he literally had nothing to do, and that's not having a go at him whatsoever. As I say, when called upon, sometimes keepers can switch off, if they're very quiet, and he absolutely didn't. And I think Nick Pope's been fantastic this season, by the way. But yeah, I because he's got such a good defence in front of him, I can't give him more than an 8 because I don't actually think he had that much to do, which I'm sure he was quite happy about. But fantastic save.
I think Popey would be delighted you're giving him an 8, Chris. So you don't have to defend yourself there.
Nick, if you're watching, that's for you, mate.
He's watching. You know he is, Chris. Watching. You know he's watching. Go on, Popey.
Shout out to Chris Wood as well, who's probably still tuning in, even though he's left us.
Yeah,
right, Chris. Right, let's move on. Right, trips. We go to trips. What a last ditch even tackle.
I was worried that does.
What a last ditch tackle there on Zaha right before halftime. And he's crossing into the box, and there was plenty of headers, tame headers that were on goal. But no, he for me, I'm giving him an 8.5 as well for trips.
Yeah, I'm going to give trips a 9 today, and I tell you why. And it's not normally we talk about him from an attacking sense, but I thought, and it will lead on to the next person I think we're going to go to. I thought the way he handled Wilfried Zaha was fantastic. He was their main threat, and he didn't have a sniff all game, and feigned a hamstring injury to get himself off the pitch, because he didn't have a sniff, and he's just showing week in, week out why he is the best right back in the country right now. He's so good. Outstanding performance. I thought from an attacking point of view, he got forward, he got balls into the box, his delivery from corners were good. All that stuff was normal, but I was just so impressed with how he marshalled Wilfried Zaha, because he was the one player in the Palace side I was worried about.
Chris?
I completely agree with Pete. 9. I thought Trippier was really good. That was another thing I saw yesterday. Apparently Trippier had a shit game, and I was thinking,
nah,
like, not quite sure what game you were watching. Whoever it was, I can't remember who it was, but it was just like.
Is it because he didn't score a free kick or something like that?
Yeah, quite possibly, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, and one thing to note, to add on to what Pete said, because I completely agree with what he said, his delivery really improved yesterday as well. Thought some of his crosses into the box were great, and in the past couple of weeks they have been a little bit shaky, albeit defensively he's been absolutely sound. So yeah, I'm gonna say, I mean, we're setting the bar high here early, aren't we, boys? But I'm gonna say a 9 for Trippier. Yeah.
Okay, move on. Let's go to Fabian Schär. And I've no notes wrote down for Fabian Schär, but I know he did a great game. I'm going to go 8 and 8.5. I'll go 8.25 for Schär. Look, I can't remember until now. It was 24 hours ago. Can't remember a thing. But yeah, 8.25 for Schär.
Shaw was my man of the match yesterday. 9.5. Again, I've touched on Trippier and how he marshalled Zaha. Fabian Schär, like, for me, he was just the best player on the pitch. The way he is so good. I can't even describe how good of a player he is. He can do everything. Absolutely everything on the pitch. He's so good. And when Trippier was going forward, and we talked about it on away days, I don't know if you guys will remember or have watched it, but we talked about it on away days, and I mentioned when we got the tactics board out that Trippier's going to get forward, and Zaha will play in that little pocket, and it'll be Zaha up against Shaw. And it was whether Shaw could handle Zaha, and he did every single time. Whenever Trippier went up and he got caught in and behind, Shaw was there. And yeah, that understanding of where he needs to be, his positioning is so good on the pitch. Let's not forget the fact that he's brilliant on the ball. The amount of times he brought the ball out to play, the little clip balls that he was putting over the top. I think he put a lovely clipboard in the second half over to Trippier, who ran in behind. He can do everything on the pitch, and I genuinely think if Shaw keeps this up, it's going to be extremely difficult and extremely expensive to replace what he does in this Newcastle team. It really, really will. And you know what? It's such a shame that he's not 5 years younger. Because if he was 5 years younger, I guarantee that all the top clubs in Europe would be after him. Because there's not many players that can do what he does.
Good shout, Pete. Chris, Schär.
Yeah, same. 9.5. Had to be. I was thinking 10, and then I thought, hold your horses a little bit, Chris. So, no, man of the match for me, Fabian Schär, outstanding. Thought he was really, really good. He kind of went a little bit under the radar last night in terms of, there wasn't any of those moments where you're like, oh, last gasp. But I think that's just because he read the game so well, and he was marshaled. He always seemed to be in the right position, and he was putting out little fires all across the pitch that may have gone unnoticed for some. But yeah, I thought Fabian Schär was superb. And as Pete said, just imagine if he was Sven Botman's age. Imagine if we both had two 22-year-olds in our centre back now. Unbelievable. But long may Schär continue. But yeah, 9.5, and I thought he was excellent.
Long may Schär continue. I like it. Awesome, awesome, Chris. Right, let's move on. Sven Botman, for me, solid everywhere. Put his body on the line. I'm giving Botman an 8.75, and he gets my man of the match. Botman.
Fair play. I've gone 9 for Botman. Again, for everything you've just said, Daz, Botman's just steady quality player every single game. But I thought that he really dealt with the physicality of Edouard really well. But what I love about Sven Botman, he just knows how to hold possession in those positions. So if we need to hold possession for our midfield to just reset once we've been on a bit of a move and we play backwards, he just holds possession so well, keeps it ticking. Centre forwards hate playing against Sven Botman, and you can tell already, because if they want to get the ball off him, they have to run, and he doesn't allow them to get anywhere near him when he's on the ball. To Burn, to Shaw, long ball to Joe Linton, long ball over to Almiron or Trippier. He can just spray the ball, and his organisation on the ball is so good, the way he's in possession. The only thing that really annoyed me about him is in the build-up to the chance in which Pope made the save, because he kind of gave the ball. I think he gave the ball to Joe Linton, who then played it to Bruno Guimaraes blind, and then they nicked the ball and had the opportunity. That's the only thing, because we overplayed in that position, in that situation. In that situation, I would have expected him to just either go long or to find it out wide and move forward and push us up. And I was thinking, why is he doing that? There's no need to overplay in those situations. We're going to create problems for ourselves, and we did. It was only one moment, but it just annoyed me because there was no need to. Sometimes you can overplay as a centre back, and he did that once. But look, I'm not going to hold that against him. But it's something that I don't want to see in our defence. We don't need to overplay. We bring the ball out. We play forward if we need to, and when we need to. But Botman, I give a 9.
Cool, Chris.
We seem pretty on tandem at the moment, Pete. But yeah, 9. He wasn't far. He wasn't far behind Fabian Schär for me, but I just thought Schär pipped him. But that's not to say he had a bad performance. I love watching Sven Botman defend. I think he's fantastic, and the fact that he is only 22 just makes it even better. And there'll be a lot of clubs out there looking at him thinking, maybe we should have put the 38 million down for him, because he looks a hell of a sign. So yeah, 9 for me.
Well, I'm going to test this theory now in a second. Reverse it. Right, Burn. Big Dan Burn. I've not wrote down, so I can't remember anything. But I'm giving him an 8.25 on the rating that I allocated yesterday. Chris, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah. So for Dan Burn, I'd probably give him an 8.5. I think I always tend to say this about Dan Burn. I feel bad, but he's probably the worst of the 4. But that's not to say, I mean, I'm giving him an 8.5. Do you know what I mean? Like, Dan Burn, the more and more he plays left back, it's like I don't even think about Matty Targett now. Like, Dan Burn is the left back. And I thought Dan Burn had a good game. Like, I can't really think of anything from last night where I go, oh, he had a bit of a wobble or anything like that. I thought he dealt with the Palace winger. I can't think of his name. It wasn't Eze because he was in the 10. It was the other one. Who's the other Palace winger? Who was it? Hang on.
So you got Zaha.
Elise came on.
Elise came on. Jordan Ayew.
Yeah. I thought he dealt with, and Ayew's not slow. Do you know what I mean?
No, he's always an awkward player for us. Anytime we play against him, actually.
He is. But yeah, I thought Dan Burn played really well, and I don't know why I sound so surprised every time, because I just see this 6'6" fella stood at left back, and I'm thinking he doesn't really look like a left back. But the more and more he plays, and the more we watch him, like at one point I see him bombing down the left wing, and I was thinking, bloody hell, he's getting up and down. He's really, really trying hard. And yeah, I'll give him 8.5, and I feel bad because I've marked him as the worst of the 4, but 8.5. Good score. But yeah, Dan Burn, I thought he played well.
Yeah, I agree. we're on point today. 8.5.
I'm trying to catch you out.
Yeah, no, I was going to go 8.5 anyway. And there's no reason to change it. I thought he had a good game. I just love how he's tried to change his game a little bit from being that solid third centre back in periods. There was one period where Joe Linton had a tame shot in the second half that just went straight to the goalkeeper. But you watch the replay, Dan Burn makes this little outside run down the wing, and he's like sprinting to try. He didn't even want the ball, but he was just offering an option down there. And Joe Linton cuts in and I was shot straight at the goalkeeper. And I just thought, you know what? He's really trying to open up his game as a left back and give something a little bit different. Because let's face it, he's got it mastered at the back as a left back. Defensively, he's solid. He wins everything in the air. He's solid on the ball. Makes the right decisions where he needs to, and it's only really the attacking side that we've questioned him on, and that's where he's improved recently. And he's trying to improve his game to become a more rounded player. So fair play to him. But yeah, nice steady game, 8.5. Nothing wrong with that. Another clean sheet in the bank.
Cool. So that is our back five covered. So let's move on to midfield. First up, Bruno. As we said at the start, absolutely brilliant to see Bruno in the squad back, and more importantly, back for our semi-finals, first and second leg as well. First one coming up on Tuesday. Bruno, I have him down as an 8 this game. Pete.
Probably my lowest rating for him actually, but I'm going to go 7.5. I am convinced that Bruno Guimaraes is not 100% fit.
No, he's not.
Now, Eddie Howe said in his press conference that he's 100% fit. He is not 100% fit. He's not. And you could tell in his performance, he was holding himself back the whole game. He was just going through the motions. That was not the Bruno Guimaraes that we see on a regular basis. The intensity, the combativeness, getting stuck in. He was literally just sitting in little pockets, getting the ball and just popping it off. And I don't know if you noticed, it was just, I think it was just before Callum Wilson went down in the second half. I think he had a little bit of a tangle with a player just early on in the second half. He has a little bit of tangle and he exactly that. At that point, we're with the Corey.
I know what I'm doing here, Pete. I know what I'm doing.
On the button, Daz, as always. At that point, like about 5 or 10 seconds before that point, Bruno Guimaraes plays a pass in to, it might be Callum Wilson or to another player. Watch it back. But and you know what? The pass barely goes 5, 6, 7 yards. It is an awful pass with his right foot, and he plays it. And as soon as he plays it, he winces. He winces straight away. And the play carries on, and Wilson and him and Decore collide, and the play goes on. And then when the game stops, I think the game goes back because Decore is still on the floor. And you look at Bruno Guimaraes, and he's wincing. And he kind of like drops to it, not drops to his knees, but he kind of like bends over, and you can tell that his right foot's struggling. You can tell that his right foot. And at that point, I was surprised that he played the 90 minutes. He got through the 90 minutes, and it was great. So it wasn't like it went again, and he had to go off. But he is not playing at 100%, and that worries me. It worries me because it means that if he's not 100%, all it takes is the wrong type of challenge. So when he did that little pirouette and he did the little spin in the second half and he got caught, he could have quite easily gone again. And if he goes, he's out for a long period of time. And that's a big worry because he is so important to our midfield. So I can understand why Eddie Howe played him, because he's so important just to have on the team, in the team as a presence and have on the pitch for the opposition to think, fucking hell, Bruno's playing. But we are running a huge risk with a very, very good player here, because if it goes and it goes properly, we won't see him play for 8 weeks. And we're talking about on that league table, and we're talking about the next 8 games, and we're looking at going into April. If we make the wrong decision with him medically, and his ankle goes, and it goes where it's not just a sprain this time, that it's ligaments, we won't see him till March, April time. And that's what I worry about massively. So we need to be very, very careful with him. And if we're in a fortunate position on Tuesday and we're winning 2 or 3-0 and we're comfortable, bring him off, get him a rest, because then we've got a week before we play again, and it gives him a week to properly get right. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's had an injection to get through that game, and the injection started to wear off. I don't know, but he is not 100%, and I don't think he played well, not to the levels that I know and what we've seen him be capable of. So 7.5 for me.
At the same time, though, Pete, Eddie Howe isn't going to risk him. If he thought there was that level of chance that he'd be fucked, I can't see Eddie. This is not Bruce here. This is someone who knows what they're doing. So he must be. It must be borderline. Maybe it's not as maybe Eddie Howe is making it out that it's in a better place than he actually is. But I think that he he was in a place that he could play. Let's say I don't. He wouldn't have risked them otherwise.
That's all I'm going to say is that I'm going to speak to you and Chris after the show, and what I say to you, you may change your mind. That's all I'm going to say.
Tune in to
Should we wrap up,
Loaded
Mike?
Extra.
No tuning in. Nothing that I've just got an opinion on something that I'm going to share with these boys that I think might change your mind. Not on
Okay,
him.
well, don't be tweeting me after this, anybody. Ask him what Pete said, okay? Anyway, Chris.
I've just got an opinion that's not in the know or anything like that. Just got an opinion.
Yeah, I was going to score Bruno a 7. I adore Bruno, and I think Bruno's amazing, and I would much rather him be in our starting 11 than not. But interesting what Pete said there. I had in my head when you brought Bruno up, Daz, the word gingerly. And I thought throughout the game he was going round the pitch, and you saw him wincing, you saw him like pulling faces, you know, as he was doing stuff. And Pete's spot on there saying he's probably had injections, because I believe that's the case. And the more I think about it, from the performance, what Pete was saying then, and from the performance yesterday, it wouldn't surprise me if, you know, I don't think he had any intention of keeping Bruno on the pitch for 90 minutes. Maybe because the game was in the balance, that's why he did it. But it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever now if we went all in on a big central midfielder, which is what we need. I've just realised that's the same as the song, isn't it? We need a new central midfielder, and Bruno gets a resting period throughout maybe 2, possibly 3 of the games that are coming up in the next few weeks, because he definitely doesn't look right. From yesterday, he just didn't look right at all. He still oozes class, and even a 70-80% Bruno is better than 100% another player, but he doesn't look himself. And yesterday showed it. And the fact that through the week we were saying, oh, you know, he might only be out for 3 weeks. Good news. Oh, he might only be out for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then he's starting the game. And it just made me think, because if you think about it, if Bruno Guimaraes was missing the other night, who comes in? Who comes in which is anywhere near the level he's at? We haven't got anyone. There's no one.
We don't have enough midfielders as it is. You know.
Yeah. As soon as you take him out and you put in someone who's not up to standards, we lose 2, 3, 4 games on the spin. All of a sudden, that league table will look a hell of a lot different. And I think Eddie Howe knows it, and I think Bruno knows it.
Look, but before we go on, the people saying about the comment, I'll share to you what it is. I'll share to you what I think it is. Is that I think, and this might be me thinking too deep into this, but I'm thinking that if he plays Bruno and Bruno gets injured in any way, shape, or form, even if it's 1 or 2 weeks, Newcastle press the button and sign a player. That's my thought. Do
you think they're already in the process of doing that though, Pete? And that they've just gone, just play Bruno, and then because they know in a couple of weeks' time, well, that player will be in by then, and Bruno can be rested in a period in February or March, and then get him up to speed, get him ready, because you can't last on just him. And by the looks of it, Shelby's not going to come back anytime soon.
But if you look at the players that we're linked with, Tillemans, Neves, they're cup tied. They can't play in this cup. And I think, I've in my mind, I'm looking at this performance today from our yesterday from our boys, and I'm thinking a lot of them have got the semi-final in mind. I think Bruno playing today and showing his fitness was about him proving that he was fit to play on Tuesday, because I think that has become the season. In this short window, that has become the season. But equally, I think Eddie Howe is probably sending a message to the owners to say, if we don't have Bruno, we need to sign somebody to come in. Because what have we got? Elliot Anderson, who's just come back into training. He's a young lad. He played at Sheffield Wednesday. I don't think he played very well at all, in my opinion. For me, he should be going out on loan. And I actually think that Eddie Howe wants him out on loan, but he can't put him out on loan because he doesn't have the players in the squad to come in and replace him. And the one thing about Elliot Anderson at the moment, he doesn't have to be part of the 25-man squad. So he's a free player. So he can't afford to just let him go. In my opinion, I think Eddie Howe is sending a message to this to say we need improvements and we need them now. That's just my opinion.
Right, a quick question on off the bat there. So, does Bruno start against Southampton in 2 days' time?
Bruno,
I say yes, he does.
he has to. Who else have we got?
Oh, I know, but with that, like, we don't think there's a recurrence of the injury or anything like that. It's just that he's still not completely comfortable with it. Yeah, okay.
I personally think Bruno will play. There'll be another injection if there hasn't been already on Saturday, and I believe there was. I don't have any evidence to suggest that. It's just my opinion of him and what I watched of him on the pitch. I think there was an injection to get him through the game. I think there'll be another one after the Southampton game, and then there will be a period of rest for him where he doesn't train, he doesn't play. He'll have maybe 2 or 3 days off to let his ankle settle, heal. They'll continue working on him with the massaging and all the rest of it, getting all the kind of dead blood out of the ankle, which is what they do. They have to try and get rid of all of that in order to bring down the swelling and all the rest of that stuff that goes into the other side of football, to make sure that he's ready for then the second leg. And I think what we'll see against Southampton in the second leg is probably more like what we see of Bruno Guimaraes and what we expect to see, because if he'd have had a longer period of rest that next week. But I think he'll play because he has to. He has to. Like, going into that Southampton game, we could go in without Bruno Guimaraes, but Southampton are going to be up for it. Forget the league position.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree, boys, but forget the league position goes out the window when it comes to cups. If it was about league position, Southampton would have never made the semi-final. They would have never beat Man City. So we have to think about that. And Eddie Howe will be thinking about that, but Bruno will be thinking about it. He'll be thinking, I want to play in the cup final. And Eddie Howe will be thinking, I want Bruno playing in the cup final. So they need him there. Yeah, they need him there to ensure that he gets there, because he's the key in that midfield. He's the only player. And I know we haven't got into the ratings of the other players yet, but he's the only player in that midfield that has any spark of creativity about him. And that's not me being disrespectful to Joe Linton and Willock. It's just a reality. And I'll talk a little bit about it when we get to those two players in particular. But he's the only one with creativity in that midfield. So we need him. Without him, we are not the same team.
Right, moving on. Let's go to him. Let's go to Sean Longstaff. So Sean Longstaff is up next. For me, I still have no notes wrote down on Sean Longstaff. I've marked him down as 7.5 for this game, Sean Longstaff.
Go on.
Yeah, no, I'd say similar, 7.5. I put him just above Bruno. Not his best game, but again, so a lot of people saying Sean Longstaff's useless, etc., etc. I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, I'd say 7.5. Nothing outstanding, but he always puts a shift in for you. And let's be honest, he's not the type of player, is he, that's gonna light up the pitch every single week. It's just not. It's not like that. Do we need to upgrade Sean Longstaff in the next few years? Of course we do. But I think he's playing his heart out. I'd be more than happy to have him in and amongst the squad. I think he's a valuable player. He obviously wants to do his best for the club. So yeah, 7.5 for me.
7 for me. 7. It goes back to my point that I've just mentioned. It's okay having Sean Longstaff run up and down and work hard for the team. He's a workhorse. He works hard. He gives everything. Nobody can ever take that away from him. But there are elements in the game where you need more, and he doesn't provide it. And he hasn't provided it for a few games now. And we need additions. I've just started a comment from Simon Davis. He put, we need Bruno, but why is it essential that we buy a centre midfielder, forward winger in this window? For what I've just said, we don't have enough creativity in this team. We need someone that can give us something different from midfield. We need creativity. And it goes back to the point, we need someone that might not be as workmanlike, that runs all day for you and gives 100% everything for you. But in those moments, like Palace, like Leeds, like Palace at home earlier on in the season, like Bournemouth, where you your workman-like is not quite enough to break a team down. You need that person with a little bit of spark, a little bit of quality, a little bit of creativity that brings a moment of magic, a free kick or a great ball in, or something that offers something different in the team. And this is why we need a variation of players. And this is why we need another centre midfielder. We can't have just three combative, workman-like midfielders and think that it's enough. It's not enough. You need creativity at the top end of the pitch. For me, Sean Longstaff will run all day for you, which is fine. But what we didn't need workman-like against Palace because we already had them nailed. We needed creativity to affect the other end of the pitch, and he didn't provide it against Palace.
You know what, Pete? Just to add in, I know we don't want to go on too long, but we're on borrowed time really. But it was just to add to what you said. I think it's absolutely right. Like Bruno, that's what Bruno brings to the team, isn't it? He's got that pass. He can unlock a defence. We saw it with the goal Miggy scored against Leicester, where Bruno plays a pass. None of our midfield would have played that pass. Bar Bruno, nobody would have played that pass. That little intricate ball, and it cut out 4 or 5 Leicester players, and then Miggy went in, threw on goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper, slotted it. That's what we need. That's what we need. And if Bruno is out of the team, who's going to create the chances? And this
Remember
is the
that
problem.
ball against Fulham, just before Bruno got injured? Bruno played this little inside reverse pass to Sean Longstaff in the first half, and he just cuts the defence like a knife through butter. And Sean Longstaff nearly gets there, but they can eat it. Fulham can see the corner. They just clear the ball just as he's about to shoot the first half.
Yeah, blocked,
there is no one else on the pitch that can play a ball like Bruno Guimaraes played that ball there. That's what we need, that little bit of intelligence beyond just being a normal footballer. That's what makes Bruno Guimaraes so good, because he can do and play moments like that. The ball over the top that he's played numerous times for Miguel Almiron in that little 1-2, that little inside pass from Almiron, clip over the top into Almiron's second run, and he just opens up the game. Bruno Guimaraes is the only player in Newcastle team that can play that ball, that can play that type of pass. And that's why it's so crucial to this team. So crucial. And this is why we need an alternative to that. Because having one player like that is just not enough. If you're looking for Champions League football, it's all right if you're looking at Europa Conference, you can have one player like that in your team. Europa League, yeah, fair enough. But if you're looking for Champions League, you need 2, maybe 3 players like that in your team to open up a game.
Yeah.
No,
sorry, go on, Daz, go on.
No, I was just going to say that it is true what you say, though. He knows exactly what we need. So there you go.
Right.
Chris?
No, I was just going to say, I was watching the first half with my lads, and what Pete was describing there, I can't recall that one, Pete, but there was a moment, and I just said to him, I said, just watch Bruno Guimaraes. He's an Everton fan. I said, just watch Bruno Guimaraes, and I said, just watch how he plays and all that. And, a couple of misplaced passes and stuff like that. And then there was a moment, he picked it up. It was just to the side of Dan Burn, and he played like this outside the football, but it was like the way he played it. And just purely that one pass that he made, it cut out 3 or 4 players, and we were on the attack. And Sean Longstaff's not going to play that ball. Joe Willock's not going to play that ball. Joe Linton's not going to play that ball. And that's the key. It was a very basic pass, but those little moments change games. And it gets us on the front foot 5, 10, 15 yards up the field than what we would have been if someone would have just played a normal side pass and then the defender's onto it and he's putting himself back in position, or he's making that one to cut it out. Bruno unlocks doors.
That is so cruel. That's so cruel, Chris. So you're saying to your lad, see that guy there, Bruno, you're never having a player like that while you're in the championship.
I know. And then we watched the Everton game, and we were watching Onana and Gay. And then Tom Davis come on, and I thought, Jesus, we've got nothing to.
We were linked with him.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Jesus, tonight.
Right, let's move on. Let's go to Little Joe first. Let's go to Joe Willock. Plenty of runs down the left, trying to create. Sometimes I wrote down here. Sometimes he does try to do too much, but anyway, I've given him a 7.75 for Joe Willock yesterday. Again, he was taken off early. He wasn't too happy to be taken off. He didn't deserve to be taken off for me either. But he just was ASM came on for Joe Willock. But 7.75. Pete.
Yeah, 7.5 for me. Wasn't the best Willock game, in my opinion. I think Willock maxed himself out in the first 15 minutes. He had 2 or 3 really good runs down that left Ward for dead. But again, it goes back to the point: decision making, quality of pass, quality of cross, not good enough. And that's the difference with Joe Willock. Gives you everything, but if you want to be someone that plays at the top end of the Premier League, if you want to break into the England squad, you need to have a final ball. And time again, he doesn't. He almost gets into the position and then doesn't know what to do with it, and he just kind of runs, and then doesn't make a final decision. The 2 out of those 3 opportunities where he runs off that left, he should be cutting inside and he should be getting a shot off on goal. Not think about anyone else. He's won the opportunity to have that. Any other player at the top end of football that gets the run and beats the man the way that he does should be getting a shot off on goal, not playing a ball over the top to Miggy. I thought it was a poor ball, by the way. It wasn't the right ball to play. It was Joe Linton that was sitting on the penalty spot unmarked. If he'd have looked up and played it to him, Joe Linton would have had the whole goal to shoot at, and it would have been a different story.
That's 5 minutes. Yeah.
That was really early on in the game. And so, great run. He's got the ability. We know how fast he is. We know he's good at carrying the ball, but it's the final ball that lets him down. After that 15-minute period, I didn't really see him in the game. He didn't really set the world alight, and I think it was right for him to be taken off. I'll be honest with you, if it was up to me, I'd have took him off at half time, and I'd have brought Alan St-Maximin on to really run at that left-hand side, our left, their right, in Ward, because Ward was getting beat left, right, and centre. And I think bringing St-Maximin on at half time would have allowed us maybe to nick a goal before they eventually brought Nathaniel Klein on, who's not really much better, but is a faster player that can stop them playing. Yeah. So, 7.5 for me.
7.5. Chris, Willock.
Yeah, same. I'm going to mark him the same as Sean Longstaff. I give Sean Longstaff a 7.5. I put Longstaff and Willock just above Bruno. Willock, do you know what? I don't know whether you lads agree, but I always prefer seeing Willock on the left of the front 3 and Joe Linton sitting in the middle of the midfield 3. I think it suits them better because Willock's got a fantastic engine. And do you know what? He's really got that pace, which we saw against Man City. You know, that little clip where he burnt Kyle Walker off. Yeah. He's got a fantastic turn of pace. Although I agree with what Fumby's just said in the chat. Fumby said, Willock needs some time off. And again, it comes down to squad depth. I would like to see Willock be rested a little bit because you can see he's kind of running on empty at the minute. And if he missed the next 1 or 2 games, he'd come back fresh. He'd come back firing on all cylinders. But it goes back to what we said about Bruno. If Willock comes out, who comes in? And this is the problem.
Just on Willock, I just remember back now, just before the World Cup break, Willock had started. He was like banging on the door that he was going to score. He's going to score. Then he scored right before the breakout, if I remember. And then we had the break, and so he hasn't come back as strong now again. Actually, anyway, we'll move on. Let's go to the front 3. First up is Miggy. Miggy doing what Miggy does. I'm giving him an 8. I give Miggy an 8 on this one. Pete.
7.5 for me again. Miggy, not really at it. He's dropped in form recently. Doesn't really seem the same player. I've got to be honest, I'm sick and tired of him cutting back in onto his left. He played 1 ball with his right in the first half that won as a corner. I thought, maybe he's changed his game a little bit and he's opening up and using his weaker foot. But he goes, it frustrates me. And look, I'll go into this in a little bit more detail later on. But he frustrates me because he just keeps coming back on that left. And I'm starting to think that teams know how to play against him now. It was always going to happen. When you watch a player and you see a player do what Miggy did in the first half of the season, you start watching them a little bit more. You start tactically making yourself aware of those type of players. And it looks like teams are starting to figure out what Miggy's about. And he's going to need to change the way he plays if he's going to continue anywhere near the sort of form that he showed in the middle part of the first part of this season. So for me, a 7.5 for me.
Chris, same.
No, I'm going with you on this one, Dad. I'm going to say 8. I thought Miggy, I, do you know what? I could go on forever. Miggy, I love Miggy Almiron. The running he does. I take Pete's point in that teams are maybe finding him out a little bit, but I do quite like that in a way because it means that they're having to pay attention to Miggy. So now it's up to us to use that to our advantage. Normally, it used to be St. Maximin where they double up, treble up on him, and teams are starting to really like suss out Miggy now. So we need to distract them with the likes of Isaac, the likes of St. Maximin. We need to ask questions elsewhere on the pitch, which might free up Miggy's time a little bit, but we'll no doubt come to that when we get to the Wilson. But yeah, I'll give Miggy Almiron 8.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go to J7. If you remember as well, on the 19th minute, he had that tame shot at the keeper. Overall, I give Joe Linton an 8. Pete.
Same, 7.5. Again, I'm looking past all the workmen, like the hard work, the running. I'm looking past all of that because they do. Every player in this team does that. So I'm looking past that, but I'm looking about what he offers as a left-hand side forward. And it wasn't enough. A couple of tame shots, really, for 90 minutes. It needs, for me, it needed to be better. In the first half where he cuts inside and he opens up the space and he has that shot and it just fumbles to the keeper. It's a great opportunity. For me, that's not a half chance. That's a chance on goal because it opens up for him and the shot is not good enough. Second half, he has another opportunity straight at the goalkeeper again. So for all the workman-like stuff he does in front of goal, it has to be better. It has to be better. So, again, it goes back to creativity, not quite doing enough, Joe Linton, for me at this moment in time. So, yeah, 7.5.
Chris, Joe Linton.
Yeah, I put him just below Miggy. I put him on par. Yeah, put on par with Willock and Longstaff, 7.5. Pete's right when he says, about his workman-like display. I feel like he should have done better with that shot, though. Not that I know Joe's not like I know Joe's not exactly prolific in front of goal, but I think he should have done better with that shot. It was a really good opportunity, but it's straight down the nose of the keeper, and there wasn't really much power behind the shot. But I don't want to be negative towards him because other than that, he puts a shift in as he always does in a Newcastle shirt. So yeah, I still want him centre mid though. I want to see someone else out on that left wing. I prefer Joe in the middle.
Good call. Right, let's go to Callum Wilson, our number 9. For me, yeah, I have said it a couple of weeks ago now. I said that okay, he's on a bit of a goal drought. The last time we saw him scoring was Villa in October. I know the World Cup was in there as well. So yeah, this goal drought continues for him. You just want him to break it and go on a run again because he will do that when he breaks it. I did mention before that I'm kind of starting to see a bit of decline in him, and I think next season he will be more of a squad player. Overall, I've given Wilson a 7. I know he was replaced by Isaac, freshened up a bit. Eddie decided not to go with the Wilson and Isaac, the combo that worked for at the end of the Fulham game. Yeah, 7 for me. Chris, I'll go to you first for this one.
Yeah, Daz, I'm putting Wilson on par with Bruno, and for a slightly different reason. I don't think Wilson's injured, but I don't think he's quite at his game at the minute. Somebody mentioned in the chat that it might be the time to put Isaac up top and just rest Wilson. He's come back. He's come back into the fold. Great to have him back, and I love Wilson. But I don't know. I kind of feel like now's the time to unleash Isaac. Whenever Isaac comes on now, he's always looking a threat. And that's not to say I'm discarding Wilson, but maybe start with Isaac and then maybe bring Wilson on. Wilson just looks tired to me. I don't know whether it's the hangover from the World Cup, like the disappointment of it all. I know he didn't play that many minutes, but I don't know.
A bit of injury as well, didn't he, during that World Cup?
Yeah, I just don't know. He just doesn't look as sharp as what he normally does. I don't know what it is.
Just on that, Chris. Look, like Wilson's starting, and like the defense he's playing against for the first say 60 minutes, they're fresh, you know. So Wilson does all the hard work, and then Isak comes on, and he's fresh, and they're at reduced capacity then, let's say. But so Isak is getting the better end of the deal there. If it was vice versa, Wilson might have something to say about that. But yeah, I think you're finished there on Wilson, Chris. Pete, I know you want to say a little something about Wilson.
Yeah, to be fair, there's a number of different points about Callum Wilson, which leads into other players, to be fair, and I'll talk about that in a little bit of detail. I'm going to start with saying Wilson overall in terms of a performance. I'll put it as a 7.5. I'll say it wasn't his best performance, but I think there's reasons for that. Now, the first and foremost is the reason why I don't think Callum Wilson is performing at his best is because I don't think he's fully recovered from having COVID. That's the first point. Now, I don't know if anyone's had COVID, but having long COVID, and we know because Alan St-Maximin really suffered with it when he had COVID, is that it takes a long time, a period of time to get back to full fitness. And I think that we're seeing that from him. But it's not the only reason. I've noticed with Newcastle is that we are not doing enough to get Wilson to get the goals that he should be getting. Now, I watch Wilson. I was a striker myself. The kind of runs and the kind of play that Wilson does, I see it. I know what he's trying to do. Wilson makes very good, intelligent runs. But the problem is at the moment is we don't have the players that find him. They're not finding him. We've got Joe Linton on the left-hand side that is a very workman-like left-hand-sided midfielder, but he's not creative enough. Miggy Almiron is very, very good at running up and down and creating little moments for himself with him and Bruno Guimaraes, but not creating moments for the striker. So we've got two inside forwards that don't support the productivity of the forward. So what it creates is isolation. What you'll find is Callum Wilson will spend a lot of time occupying the centre backs. So I see that, and I see, look, he did a great job. He got Gay booked really early on for a challenge, and he's occupying them. He's making it difficult for them. I see that. I know what he's doing. And you know what? I like that because that's what a striker's all about. He's putting himself about. He's getting stuck in. He ain't worried about getting injured. He's pressing the defenders high. He's doing that job. But what we're not doing as a team is supporting him when it comes to the crunch, because every striker is judged on their goal-scoring ability. And it's been well documented that Callum Wilson hasn't scored since October. So for me, I look at that and I think, right, is Callum Wilson doing enough? Is he always in the box? Yes. Is he always getting opportunities in games to score goals? No. And that is the key. He doesn't have opportunities to score goals in this game. He had the header, which was a half chance at best. When the ball gets clipped in, it was a half chance. It was coming behind him. He gets the ball. He tries to spin it towards goal. It's a half chance. That's all he had in the whole time he played. That for me is not enough. It's not enough creativity to create chances for someone like Wilson that should be scoring. And I'll just look. I said I was going to kind of go into it in a little bit of detail. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring the tactics board up. Okay. So I don't know if you can see it.
Yep. Yeah, I can see it, mate.
Okay, so I've moved all the other players out that don't really matter in this situation. So what we found is that there were lots and lots of situations like this. And I'll bring Joe Linton in with the ball as such. So in the first half, it was Ward. Okay. So what we found is that Joe Linton was getting the ball and they were making runs down here. And half of the time, they're cutting inside. So when Wilson's making that run in, he doesn't know whether he's going to get the ball or whether he's not. So he's always making that run into that space here. He's always looking to get that ball in there. But when you've got someone like Joe Linton that's not a natural winger, he's going to get the ball and you'll watch it back. I've watched the game back 3 times now, the full 90 minutes. You'll see Joe Linton, he'll get the ball in this situation and he'll feint to go left and cross the ball in, but he'll end up cutting back in on his right-hand side and eventually playing the ball to Wilson or to Burn, and the whole cycle starts again. If you're a striker and you're not knowing whether you're going to get the ball or not, it's so difficult to make that run. And to make that run and know that you're going to get onto it, make that run, whether it's near post, whether it's through the middle, or whether it's back post. As a striker, it's frustrating because you don't know whether you're going to get it or not. Okay. You had Willock, and I'll bring these boys back. You had Willock. I'll put Joelinton in here. You have Willock, and we talked about it before. He made great runs against Ward, beating his man down here with the ball. And then either he put half decent ball, not a great ball into Miggy, who puts it wide. But then on the other times, he either runs it out of play because he just runs too much, or he doesn't do anything with it. As a striker, you're making a run and thinking, give me the ball, I want the ball, and then it runs out of play. What are you thinking there? You're thinking, well, am I going to get the ball next time? Am I not? Like, he has to have that memory in the brain of knowing where to run, because you know you've got a player that plays the ball in constantly. You know that then you can make that run in there to get on the end of it, or you can make the run to the back post to get on the end of it. And he's not able to do that because he's not getting the ball at all. And this is the frustration.
Can I ask, mate, because it's really fascinating what you're saying there. Do you think, like, we've seen, haven't we, a lot of success down our right-hand side when Miggy and Trippier have been playing. Trippier's overlapping, he's getting the ball in the box. And not only that, we've seen a lot of success as well when we've seen Bruno in that number 8. And, you know, you've got Sean Longstaff there, pictured just on the edge, you know, with Hughes and Decore. If that was Bruno Gomes looking for that through ball, looking for, you know, to try and find that progressive pass, is that what you're saying? Do you think... And also, I suppose my other question is, do you think that, not that I'm suggesting that Eddie Howe changes anything as such, but do you think that's where maybe we fall down a little bit, having such a left-footed player in Miggy on the right? Whereas if we had that, you know, dynamic right winger who had a right foot and was pinging the ball in at every opportunity and not waiting for Kieran Trippier to be able to lay it back and cross it in, do you think that hinders us as well as the left? Because what you're saying there about the left, it's exactly the same problem in a way, isn't it?
Chris, you're absolutely spot on, and I was coming to it because I was going to talk about this right-hand side as well. For as good as we are, and this is where I bring Bruno Gomes in, so I'll talk about it. We talk about this triangle of players and how much they create, okay? Because Almiron gets to this point, and sometimes a fullback think he's going to go in here, but most of the time he cuts back in here, and it's either a ball back into Trippier that then goes into the box, or it's to Bruno, and Bruno either puts it into the box or keeps it ticking over to Longstaff, Joelinton. We work it out wide and we keep playing. Yeah, that's how it kind of works. But you're forgetting he doesn't know whether he's going to get the ball or not. So he's making runs and then coming back. They're making runs and coming back, and we think we're looking at the game on the screen and we're thinking, yeah, we're ticking the ball over, but we're forgetting about him. He doesn't know whether to make the run because he's getting the ball. We don't know whether he's going to get it or not. He doesn't know whether to go back post, front post. You know, it's brain memory of when you know. You look at players going back in the years, Beckham and Van Nistelrooy. You look at, you know, Robbie Solano Shearer, Robert Shearer. Yeah, you knew if Robert was here that this ball is coming into the box here. So Alan Shearer knows that he needs to be there, and he gets on the end of it 9 times out of 10. You know that Solano's getting the ball here from deep, and he's putting it in here. So Shearer knows to be here, to get on the end of it. Wilson hasn't got a clue. He hasn't got a clue. You go back on, if anyone's not watched the game, go back and watch the game. Wilson hasn't got a clue whether to run here, run back post, or stay in the middle, because he doesn't know whether he's going to get the ball, because he's getting Miggy getting the ball and looking like he's going to go there, but then goes there. And he's like constantly, he's making runs, then stopping. They're making runs and stopping and making runs. And as a striker, it's frustrating as hell because you don't know when you're going to get the ball. And then when the ball finally comes in, you're like, oh, the ball's come in. And you're like, shit, I'm not there. And then you're thinking, when's the next time I'm going to get a ball like that? And then all of a sudden, the confusion continues. And that's the big thing with Callum Wilson at the moment. And that's the big frustration. And I don't think it's all about Callum Wilson, because I'm watching his runs and his runs are good, but we're not providing the service for him to make sure that we're benefiting, right? You know, you take Willock off, you bring ASM on, the same situation happens again. ASM cuts inside. Look, ASM I thought was really, really good. By the way,
Yeah, I do.
In the second half. And I think, in my opinion, ASM has to start at St. Mary's on Tuesday. But that's just my opinion in itself. He has to start because he brings something different. But again, ASM comes in, he cuts inside, you know, he tries to open up play. If it doesn't open up, and to be fair, against Palace, he had 3 men around him. There was Hughes, Klein, but I put Ward there for a second, and there was always one other. It might be Decore. Like, he had 3 men around him, so it was really, really difficult. They clearly had a plan for ASM, and it was difficult cutting in from the right, and it was difficult for making moves. But he continued playing the ball. But again, you've got a player that cuts inside. So what do you do? If I was Eddie Howe, the simple thing is that you move him there and you move him there, and you say, you know what, Almiron on the left hand side, when you get the ball, whip it in. If you're ASM, when you get the ball, whip it in. We already know in previous seasons when ASM gets the ball here, he just puts the ball in because ASM's actually created a few chances for Wilson in previous seasons when he's just gone down that right-hand side, worked the ball and whipped it in. And Wilson's been there to get on the end of it.
Well, look at the West Ham game, Pete.
West Ham and Tottenham.
Yeah.
Both of them. Last season under Bruce, unfortunately, but actually when ASM's worked it on this right hand side, he's worked the ball. I think the West Ham game in particular, first game of the season last season, he absolutely does Declan Rice in this position, whips it in, bang, Wilson near post, goal, because he knows he's going to get the ball there. He knows what's going to happen. And that's the key. And that's, for me, a simple maneuver is just changing it, even if it's in game. If you think, right, it's not working, if something's not quite happening, switch them over and just get them to be direct. Beat the man. Old school winger. We look at the old school wingers, the Roberts, the Solanos, the old school type winger. Beat your man, get it into the box so the striker gets on the end of it. Wilson doesn't know whether he's going to get the ball or not. Now, this is the other thing. Is if you take Wilson out and you bring this man in, this is where it's different. He is the modern striker. And this is why I think a lot of people are talking about Isak starting. And I get it, because what you get from Isak is a lot different. And this is why we paid 58 million for him, is that Isak will give you something different. He'll be here, but he'll also be here. And he'll swap and come in here. And he'll get the ball and he'll want to cut inside and he'll want to create opportunities here. He'll come wide and receive the ball. He'll also come here, but he'll also want to get in behind. So if these players, and I'll move them all back just a second, if these players are all here,
offside,
them back, but what you'll see from Isak and what we saw when he's come off the bench recently is that he wants to commit defenders out here and out here. And what he does that Wilson doesn't do, and it's partly because of age and injury and various other things, Wilson's changing his game right now to continue to play at the highest level, is that Isak, what he'll do is bend his run and he'll come into these spaces. And what you've seen in previous games is the likes of Bruno or Longstaff or whoever at ASM play these balls in and behind into these spots. So what he's willing to do is run in and behind and create issues in and behind, which is the only thing that Wilson doesn't do.
Just to add in, Pete. Oh, sorry, mate. No, I was just going to say, just to add into what you say, if you look at if you look at Isak's goal against Liverpool, you're absolutely right. He was probably around about where Gahey is. Assuming that's the attacking end, he was around about where Gahey is.
We'll recreate it, although it's Palace players, but we'll recreate it because you're absolutely right. So the midfielders are up here. We'll say the centre backs are around here. Let's just move Trippier back. Isak's here. Ward up there. Oh no, 1 second. Bloody hell. Okay, so we're up about this spot here. So against Liverpool, I can't remember who plays the ball, but someone plays the ball from deep and it's played into this area here. And what you see is Isak just bend his run into this spot and the ball gets played over the top into those areas. That's what Wilson used to do. If you watch any of the goals he scored against for Bournemouth, that's what he used to do in there. But his hamstrings and his injuries have caught up with him. Isak's 22, 23 years old. He's younger. He's had less injuries. That ball gets played over the top. He's into that spot. And he moved into that spot. He cut inside. Great finish. Offside. And that's what Isak offers. And this is why we paid 58 million for him, because he offers something different to Wilson. Now, what I would say is, and moving them back very, very quickly, is that I honestly believe that him and Wilson can play together.
Yeah.
And I think...
I wanted to ask you, Pete, did you think there was any big... Did you, and Daz as well, did you think it was interesting that against Fulham, Isak came on and we went to a 4-2-3-1 with Isak in the 10? And then against Palace, it was straight swap for Wilson. Did you think that was interesting? Given the fact that Fulham, you know, that's how the goal was created, through Wilson onto Isak?
Well, it was a surprise. It was a surprise for me because we were chasing the game. But I think Eddie Howe had in his mind, because they were catching us on the counter attack. If they weren't continuing to press against us, I think he would have done that. I think he would have kept Wilson on and gone for it. If we hadn't got a semi-final on Tuesday, I think it would both of them on. I think that there was a mindset for Howe that he doesn't want players to get injured, and he wants a like for like to ensure that he's got a group of players ready for Tuesday. And I think this is what you saw from the team ultimately, is that you had him here, I think one of these were off, if I'm right thinking. Yeah, these two played as a 2. Bruno was off. It was ultimately like this against Fulham. And I remember seeing on Sky, he was saying to Isak, he putting his hands up, you're a 10, players a 10. And he literally played in his pocket. And these two interlinked. So actually, no, Isak was making these runs in and around Wilson. And Wilson was just like the fox in the box, which is what he is. But actually, what was interesting is that they changed tact. Is that in the build-up to the goal, Wilson became the number 10 and played in here, which is
he went to the left, didn't he?
And Isak puts the ball in puts the ball in there, goes into the back, puts the ball in, he puts the ball into the net there. And that's what you're going to get from those two. And I think they could really link up well. But Eddie Howe's going to have to come away from his tactical system in order to make that work. And I don't think he's ever going to start with this formation, but I think in game he's going to have to at times this season change his formation to fit that, because at times we're going to need goal scorers on the pitch. We're going to need movement in the box. And it goes back to my point, and I just want to raise this last point just before we come on, because I think this is really important with regards to us hammering Wilson, is understanding actually that there's a reason why he doesn't get the kind of the chances or score the goals that we expect him to. And you know, we've got situations like this, and I'm going to take Almiron out, and I'm going to put Murphy in, because for me, Murphy played the best ball of the game for Newcastle United late on in the game. And there was a ball that was played in, I think it might have been from Trippier, and he plays it in and behind, and Murphy wins the ball and he just whips it across goal. And it's a great ball. And Wilson, no, in fact, it wasn't Wilson at that time.
He was off,
just misses out on it, and he goes to the front post. And it was the one time that was a run off the ball that was made from a striker where he knew where the ball was going to play. He just misses it, and it goes behind, and I think it goes behind further on. And that's what we need. We need players to make that run. However, what we also need is more, because as I've said to you, we want balls into the box, but we don't want a situation where we've got this: 2 centre-backs and a defensive midfielder marking one player into the box. We need more. We need someone getting in there. We need Joe Linton getting in there. We need Longstaff on the edge of the box. We need options. You know, we need ASM getting closer to the goal. If we're going to whip a ball across goal like this, we need Isak going front post. We need ASM here at the back post. And if the ball breaks for any of these centre-backs and they clear it, we want a Joe Linton or a Longstaff on the edge of the box to get the ball into the net. And we didn't have that enough. The amount of times that the ball went in and the ball was cleared to around this spot, and let's say Hughes was on the penalty spot, the ball was cleared from one of these into this area, and we didn't have either a Longstaff or Joe Linton there. Joe Linton was either there or Longstaff was really deep, and the ball gets broken to, and they end up clearing the ball because there's no one here. We need someone in this spot, and it means taking a risk but we need someone here because we can't just expect either in Isak, and it happened with Isak on the pitch, or a Wilson to just be expected to get on the ball when you've got 3 defenders around you. It doesn't happen like that. It is not realistic for a striker. So before we hammer Callum Wilson, yes, he's not quite up to fitness, but let's look back at the game and think, did we provide him with enough chances to score the goals that could win us the game? And we didn't. And that is part of the problem. And this is what we need to sign. We need to sign players that can come in and provide us this option off the bench. I'll give you one example. You got someone like, in fact, I'll give you 2. The 2 players that we've been linked with in midfield, Neves and Tielemans. Both you will find on the edge of the box here, and both you will find that can score great goals from the edge of the box. From what? From the ball coming back out and being recycled by the centre backs. You will see goals this season. Go back and watch any goal this season from Neves and Tielemans, and I guarantee you'll see either at least 1 or 2 goals from either of those players from balls that have been recycled from centre backs out off the pitch into this area here, and they've smashed it in. One of them.
Look at the Tielemans one in the top bin.
Yeah,
from outside the box.
The Tielemans one from here against Everton, recycled back to this point, bang, into that far corner. The Neves one from here against Newcastle at Molineux, gets recycled by us to the edge of the area, bang, into the net here. They are the classic versions of those type of players. Now, can Longstaff strike a ball? He's proved it before. He can score goals from distance, but he's not clinical enough. And this is why is not just from a number 6 position, but actually, I want a player to come in that's a number 6 that can do that can do a Neves or a Tielemans, that can score from deep, from the edge of the area. If you go back and watch Kone's goals, Kone scores from there. Kone can score these goals in these little corners. He's proved it as well. So he's not out of reach either. And this is why we need
Thomas Partey.
Thomas Partey is a great example. He's come in and he does that. He's good. And this is what I mean. It's not just about the striker. It's about what else in this team do we need in order to be an attacking threat that we can go and beat these teams and win 2 or 3-0. So that's, from my perspective, this is why I think we need new players. And it's not just about Callum Wilson. It's not just about the striker. It's about what the team offers in general. So I just wanted to throw that point out there.
That's a great analysis there, people. Well done. No, I think people in the chat will appreciate that as well. And it does. You've given us a different insight into looking at why it hasn't been working for Callum Wilson as well. He's not. He needs more support around him to make it happen. But I think if Eddie Howe's video analysts are listening, get the finger out. Pete has watched this game back 3 times. So the full 90 minutes. So we just do this for a hobby. So we're Pete.
Of course.
I like it. Let's say, look, this is not just because of Loaded. This is not just because of the fact we've got a show. This is what I do. This was way before anything on YouTube. This is how I analyze games, because I'm a football fan, not just as well as a Newcastle fan. Newcastle fan priority, but I'm a football fan. I like to see how football works. And look, before I hammer a player, I like to observe a player and see what they're doing in games and what is going on around them. And it's easy to go, Wilson, shit, he ain't scored since October. He needs to get out of the team. But sometimes you got to look and go, actually, are we doing as a team enough for him to score the goals? When has he had a chance to score? He's had a couple of half chances against Fulham. He had a half chance header against Palace. We're not providing him with opportunities. And I bet you any money in the changing rooms, Eddie Howe saying that to the rest of the players, saying, why are you not providing chances for Callum Wilson? We already know when he gets chances, he puts the ball in the net. Why are we not doing it more?
It's true.
Callum Wilson. Talk to Pete. Right. Let's. I think it's probably around time we should be start rounding the show up off, lads. We're coming up on the 2-hour mark. Look, I'm gonna just run through the sponsors before we get there, but just a shout out to the Radiator Shed and to Russ and the crew there at the Radiator Shed. NUFC.com with Chris in jail. New bit of new picture here. The Russ has got radiators in multiple different colors, so new cast iron colors. Here they are. Yeah, you could have you could mix it up if you're doing up your house, or you fancy some new radiators. Get onto Russ or go through us, and we'll point you in Russ's direction. And also shout out to the Install Works as well, who's also linked to Russ's other business, and more details and sponsors coming soon. That's really it for the sponsors. We will have shows coming up this week. Obviously, we know that the semi-final of the League Cup is coming up on Tuesday as well. But we have to talk ourselves and decide what days we're going to put shows on. Actually, another little shout out I want to give as well, and it's to these two guys. And let's remove that for 1 second, Chris. Yeah, the loose gadgies. So yeah, Simon Parker, who has done some little artworks for us, but he also has his own YouTube channel, and he's just starting out. So go check it out. I have only listened to part of it myself, but very interesting stuff on there. I just need to get the time to sit down and to listen to some of them. He's also on Apple iTunes as well, and on YouTube. So check out Loose Gadgies, and he is northeast Newcastle based as well. Simon is a fellow Geordie. So check that out. So I said Simon, I'd give him a shout out on that, and thanks for the artwork you've done for us in the past. That's it on the show, lads. Anything else you want to say before we finish it off? Oh, we'll go for a few questions even. We haven't even looked at questions.
Yeah, I mean, we've started some questions or some comments, if you like. Do you know what? We'll fly through them as quickly as we can. So Andrew DB says, after drooling over clips of Diaby beside Gordon, I shall cry big fat man tears. Boys, what are your thoughts on Gordon? Me personally, I'll start. He wouldn't be the first name on the list, but again, as I always seem to say, if Eddie Howe wants him and Eddie Howe sees something in him that perhaps we haven't seen consistently over the last few months, then I'm all for it. The only thing I'm worried about is paying anywhere near the 40-50 million that's being quoted. I think if we got him for somewhere between 30 and 40, I could live with that over a long period of time. But there's no doubt in his quality. I think he does have quality, but I don't know. I'd maybe look elsewhere, especially given his attitude, which has been questionable, considering he's playing for his hometown club. But that's just my opinion. What are your boys on there, Anthony Gordon?
I'll jump in here, because I was a fan of Anthony Gordon, right? Because I thought he was played really well against us. And this last season, we played really well against us, and I thought he was the best player. He was the man of the match. But then his attitude does kind of stink at times, and the whole diving thing. But if I wouldn't mind him rocking up at Newcastle, I think Eddie Howe could get the best out of him. The price is quoted when Chelsea were looking at him like 60 million. That time was crazy. No way would he get near him at that price. But yeah, around the 35 up to 40 million, because he's young. England under 21 as well. I think he's a decent player. It's just that attitude thing, or is that more exaggerated as well? When he hasn't had a great season this, and they did start him at the start of the season. They were playing him as a striker. To me, he's more like a winger kind of player for me. But I wouldn't be too disappointed if he rocked up. But Eddie Howe has to do a bit of work with him.
Pete.
I don't know. I'm still a little bit torn. I'm looking at the players that we're linked with, and I'm thinking, can we do better? Yes, definitely. There are better players out there that we can sign. He's predominantly a left winger. Marcus Thuram on a free, just for one example. There are other players out there that can do the job. Yeah, he's got a lot of teams looking at him in the moment. He could go anywhere. He could go Chelsea. He could go PSG. Are looking at him. So he's got a lot of clubs interested in him. So that's the difficult part with someone like Marcus Thuram. But again, he's just one example who's someone that's a better player that we could sign. And then I go back to Anthony Gordon at the back end of the season basically kept Everton up.
Yeah,
he basically kept him up. Like his drive, his workmanlike play was crucial to them. And I look at that, and I look at an Eddie Howe team, and I look the way he works off the ball, his intensity, the way he presses, at his pomp is what Eddie Howe wants. Now, can Eddie Howe get that out of him again? Definitely. Like Frank Lampard's not a progressive coach. He's not a coach he's not even a coach. He's a manager. Like Frank Lampard doesn't get players playing better. He doesn't improve players. He just works with players that are already at the level that they are, which is why Everton are doing shit in the league. Apologies, Summer. But great. Thank you for that. Because I said it and I was like, oh.
And you said it again.
She is wasting our house. She is wasting our house anyway, mate. Especially last night.
What I'm saying is that Eddie Howe, and we already know, he can improve players and make them better because he coaches them. Now, I think Anthony Gordon's 23, if I'm right in thinking, 22, 23.
Yeah, I think he's 23.
English, important as well. He can work with him and make him a better player.
Fastest recorded time this season, Pete. Being the fastest recorded Premier League player. Yeah.
So like he can work with a player like that and make them better. My biggest question mark about Anthony Gordon, I don't know if you guys and guys and girls in the chat will agree, is for me, I'm not paying any more. I don't want to pay any more than 25 million for him because I don't think he's worth that right now. like Chelsea were going to pay 60 for him, 50, 60 for him. For me, he's worth half of that because he hasn't proved this season, and partly not his own fault, but he hasn't proved this season he's worth that sort of money. Now, Everton are probably going to demand that sort of money. So do you go with the 25 million with a Ryan Fraser added into that? And you add the extra 10 million on, and you say, in theory, Ryan Fraser's worth 10 million. He wants to leave. He wants to play regular Premier League football. It would make a great deal in terms of doing that on. If it was a 25 millionaire with a Ryan Fraser, or even a 25 rising to 30 based on appearances, or if we win a trophy or whatever it is, and then a Ryan Fraser that maybe even eventually spreads out to 40, I wouldn't mind that, but I wouldn't be comfortable paying 35 million up front or anything more than that for Anthony Gordon because I don't think he's worth it. And I think that money could have been better spent elsewhere with other better players that are a similar age but are ready to go at a higher level than him. That's just my opinion. So look, whatever Eddie Howe signs and what he chooses to do is completely up to him, but that's where I am with Anthony Gordon and the links that we have. Now, the one thing I'll add is that Dan Juma has already done a medical at Everton, who plays in a very similar position to him, and it looks like that deal is going to be done on a loan to get him in. There's a lot of talk, and look, Chris, you'll probably know more than us, is that a lot of talk that he's coming in, and they're not happy with Gordon right now at Everton for various different reasons. So it's looking like he could come out. So it is looking like a deal that could well be done by the end of this window. But for me, it's all about the price. It's all about the price.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Oh, Jimmy Watt made a good point. Jimmy said, do you not think Eddie's played Bruno to show other clubs were not desperate in negotiation for the midfield?
He could, but I don't think he'd risk him just for that. No, he'd take the players' well-being and the game, the semi-final coming up. It wouldn't be the reason why he would have played him.
Do you agree, Pete?
Not with that. I don't think it'll be to show that we're not desperate. Not at all. I think for the reasons that I mentioned before, I think it's the opposite. I think he's playing him to show that if he does get injured and he does break down, that he's showing the owners that we need to sign. We need to sign players to come in to complement this team. Our squad of players is not strong enough. It's not strong enough right now. And we need at least a couple of players to come in to give not only a boost And you know what it's like. If you've ever played in a football team, regardless of what level, when you get a new player in, it's like, oh, yes, we've got a new player. Like, what's he like? It gives you a buzz. We know when we've signed a new player for Newcastle this time last year, you saw players come through the door. Oh, yes, got a new player buzzing.
Hope.
It raises everybody's levels. Yeah, it gives everybody a buzz in the changing rooms. It would give these players a buzz to know that quality players are coming through the door, and it would give us that extra lift to take us into the second half of the season. The example we gave, Happy Cisse, back in 2012, that gave us a lift. He went on a 9-10 game run, whatever it was, where he was bagging goals for fun. That gave us a lift that ended us up. It was getting fifth. If we get a player of quality that comes in, or two that come in and make a difference, that could solidify Champions League football for us. It's massive.
I agree. On the subject of central midfielders, really quickly, do we think Shelvey's going to go to Turkey? The rumours still won't go away.
No, that's not happening. We got Craig Hope ruling that out for pretty much after it being announced, and I think I told you guys as well that it wasn't happening as well. But no, Shelvey is staying.
Agree, Pete? You look like you've agreed. Yeah.
So.
Now we can't do a show, especially in January transfer window season, without mentioning this guy. David Cook says, James Madison's back in the squad yesterday. Pete, are you excited?
I am. What did I say to you boys when we saw it was in the squad? I think, Chris, you put it in the chat.
Yeah, Pete was on it. He was there.
When I say to you, to be fair, I had it confirmed on the Friday that he was in the squad. He was going to play from some of the Leicester boys that I know. What did I say to you? I'm not saying it probably won't happen this window. Don't rule it out. He's back fit now. He's back playing. Don't rule it out. And it was interesting. I was with. I've been out most of the day, and I was with someone that's a Leicester fan who goes to a lot of games with his boys. And I said to him, look, what is Madison's best position? And I was like, you've watched him for a few years, but where do you think he's best playing? And he said, you know what? His best playing is a number 10, playing him just behind a striker where he can get into those pockets. Like an elite club, he will destroy teams just playing in that little pocket. I said, can he play as a number 8? With the way that we set up as a team. He said, yeah, he can play there. But you'd rather him play as an inside forward on the right. And that's Miggy's position. And you think he might not give you the work rate, the running up and down, but if you get the ball into his feet, he's going to provide absolute quality in there. And this is the thing. The players that come in might not be that workmanlike, but they'll give you quality in moments that will win you matches. And that is the difference. And that's what we're evolving to. And I'm not saying it's going to happen in January. Probably won't. Likely to be in the summer. But now he's back fit and he's proved his fitness. Who's to say? Never know. Not ruled it out.
Watch the space.
Absolutely. I want to bring this one up from Sheridan McKenzie, who says, I don't know if you've seen the Saudi sponsorship with Man United. Do you know anything about this? The only reason I wanted to bring this up was because I thought it was funny. Apparently, the Palace fans were singing anti-Saudi chants, and then on the advertising hoardings, it was the Saudi advertising, which I thought was just brilliant. So I thought that was good. I'll be honest, Sheridan, I don't know about you, Daz, but I haven't heard anything about the Saudi shirt sponsorship with Man United. But again, it doesn't really surprise me, if I'm honest. Saudi have a huge influence on football.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything about this, but I am delighted that Arsenal won today and nipped it at the end of the game because, for us, it's all about the top 4. So anyone gets a win over Man United, I'm happy.
Yeah. Absolutely, mate. This is an interesting one from Brett C. The only disappointment I have is that with all the height we have, we don't seem to score enough headers from corners. I mean, we've got Dan Burn, we've got Joe Linton, we've got Dar, who's not, short by any stretch. We've got Botman, we've got Sean Longstaff. Would you expect us to be scoring more headers, or at least look at scoring more headers?
Yeah, you would. And if you even just take that game yesterday, like I don't know how many times, and I went through it at the start, that how many weak headers there were from good balls in as well, and we've got one of the best deliveries coming in from Trippier, and it's just it just wasn't our day. Another day, 3 of those would have gone in. It's just the way it worked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last one I want to come to, and hopefully Pete will be back by the time we finish answering this. Good one from David R. He says, would you prefer to continue with the clean sheets and grinding out more 1-0 wins, or would you swap that for the Keaton days where we used to outscore the opposition? I didn't expect us to defend this well under Howe. And I think that's a great point from David. I mean, me personally, David, like, I didn't think we'd defend as well as we have under Howe. Like, everyone kept telling us when Howe come in that, great going forward, but can't defend. And obviously that's something he's worked on in the time he spent out of football. We look like a solid unit. And I've got to be honest, David, like, as much fun as we had in the Keegan eras, where like it was end to end, it was 4-3s, all stuff like that. Like, I've kind of got the Sven Botman mentality now, where when we keep a clean sheet, I'm absolutely buzzing because I just keep looking at that record and I keep thinking we're the best defensive team in the Premier League, and like I take loads of pride in that, and I think it's a really, really good trait. And I think I said to you boys yesterday on the group chat, if we don't concede a goal, we're not losing a football match. And for me now, it's all about that. I think even if we were winning 3-0 and we conceded, it'd be a bit like, we were doing so well. What about you, Daz? What do you think?
Yeah, look at we could be, and it's just surprising that we're not. That our defensive record is so good. Like we could be 4-3 all the season, and then we'd be sitting down in 10th place or something like that. Some would go our way, some wouldn't. But I'd rather have a solid defensive team, getting 1-0 wins or the odd time 2-0 wins or whatever it might be, and be challenging for the top four, sitting in third in the league and in the semi-final of the League Cup. I'll take that any day ahead of and it's still exciting because we are playing brilliant football to watch, and all the commentators are saying the same. Newcastle are the team to watch, so we can win a game 1-0 and 2-0, and it'll still be very exciting. Okay, apart from the 0-0 games, there's no dull games really for Newcastle these days.
People hate it, Daz. Like my mate who's a very bitter blue, by the way. As soon as the match finished, the full-time whistle went, and he just wrote boring Newcastle. And then I just went off then. I was just like, what do you mean boring Newcastle? And I sent him all the stats, and he never replied to me. And I was like, what's boring about that? The only thing that's boring is the fact that I'm bored of the clean sheets we're keeping, because I absolutely love it.
We all have friends like that love to rub it in.
Yeah, the only reason they think it's boring is because they would long for them to not concede goals.
Exactly.
They invested crazy money, not transfer related, but crazy money in terms of wages on Tarkowski, and crazy money in terms of covering Connor Cody's wages, and both proved to be absolutely shocking together as a partnership at the back and shipping goals for fun. So yeah, he would long for what we have right now, which is, it's all sour grapes. Just enjoy it. Just smile. Enjoy it and smile.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's probably it with the question. I think that was your last one that you want to mention, Chris. Look, just to round it all off, we will be back during the week. We don't know yet what days or what shows we're putting on. We're hoping we're getting reactions to signings because they have to be coming soon. There's only 9 days left in the transfer window, and we've got a League Cup semi-final first leg on Tuesday. So you imagine Tuesday might be. Oh, Pete, you want to get in and say something?
Yeah, just while we're on live, Jordan's come back to me and said, Wednesday, fully loaded transfer show. Let's get cracking. So, 7:30 Wednesday, Jordan's coming back. And we might have a couple of other guests coming to join us. Let's wait and see. But yeah, Wednesday is a goer for that one. He's literally come back just while we're on there. So I just thought
lovely. And we'll I'm sure we'll talk a bit about the first leg as well in that the opening of that show before we get into all the transfer stuff. And I imagine it's going to be hot and heavy this week. That is it. Who said a 0-0 review show would be boring? Not us. We 2 hours 10 minutes. There was plenty to talk about. Thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. Thanks everyone that hit that like button or is yet hit that like button on their way out. And anyone that's new to the show, catching us for the first time or on playback, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Get us on our way to 6K. Good night, everyone. How'd you like that? See you soon.
How you like?